Oh my God. Did you guys see the Friends reunion that's on HBOMax right now? Because I did. It was totally awesome. If you're a huge Friends fan like I am, come on, check it out. We got the DVDs over here. We got the Blu-rays over here. We got a book. We got a word puzzle. Dude, we are crazy friends. You got t-shirt on, y'all? So we are going to talk about that special today. So prepare to pivot in your chair for maximum comfort while we talk about Friends. Let's go. Hey guys, welcome back to the Pop Culture Cafe. I am Huck. Do me a favor if you're new to this channel, hit like and subscribe and smash that bell so you get notified the next time we put up our next video. I do all kinds of different content on here. We do Blu-ray hunts and movie consolidations, and of course we review stuff like this show today, the Friends reunion on HBOMax. Guys, I've been pumped for this. Now, the only way you can get pumped for it like I am is that you have been a massive fan all along. I think if you're just a casual Friends watcher, you're not going to be as ecstatic about this special as I was, right? But I was, so I was ready to go. It's been quite a number of years before this cast has stepped foot onto the set. And yes, they stepped foot back on the original sets. Let me break it down for you. The way this thing starts is the entire cast comes in one at a time to the resurrected sets of the original Friends television show. And so not only are they getting together for nostalgic purposes and talking about the show and reminiscing and sharing their memories and stuff like that, but they're going to do it on the sets. So that adds to the emotion that's going through them while they do it. So that's A+, man. It's so good. And the first one to come in is David Schwimmer, and it is so good. I mean, you can just see the emotion. You know, a lot of people say, look, these guys are actors and maybe it's all part of a put on, but sometimes you can just tell when it's genuine. I mean, these people spent 10 years of their lives on these sets, creating, you know, a life and a friendship and a family with each other. And it's just natural. Look, I've done stuff myself. I've been in this business. I've done acting and directing and editing. So I know what it's all about. And I know when you turn it on and off. And I can just tell, at least it feels like to me, that when they're there, there is genuine emotion being shared by all 6 actors. So it's totally awesome. And then they come in one after another until they've all come in to the set. And it's Monica's apartment that they all settle in on and begin their reminiscing. And then they also get together outside in front of the fountain that they shot their original introduction in front of. And that's where they have their Q&A, or their interview, if you will, with James Corden. And up in the seats, in part of the audience, is also some secret guest stars and producers and stuff that have been on the show. And occasionally James throws to the audience, and you're like, hey, there's, and then like Elliot Gould and Christina Pickles is there, who of course play Ross and Monica's parents. So little things like that, it just keeps happening throughout the entire show. Not only do they introduce the cast, but they also talk to the producers and some other behind the scenes people that help put this entire show together. James Burrows was one of the key people. He was the director of the pilot. And if you don't know who James Burrows is, just look him up, y'all. This guy's directed every cool, great, awesome sitcom out there. And it just stands to reason that if you want your show to be a hit and you feel like there's something special there, you go to that guy. I mean, he is the guy for television comedies. And sure enough, he put his little magic touch on that episode 1, and it just took off. Been a hit ever since. And then the cast all gets together and they reenact this quiz that Ross came up with in the show. There was one in the show where he quizzes the girls against the guys and who knows each other better. And then the winner, which ended up being the guys, won Monica's apartment. Oh. And if you haven't seen it, 2 episodes later, they swap apartments back to the original owners, and both parties are happy. And if you see the episode, you'll understand why. Then the show segues into one of their first table reads, And the scene that they table read here is the episode where where Joey had to pee on Monica because she got stung by a jellyfish. And they're kind of telling Ross the story because he wasn't there. And of course, Ross, being the science nerd that he is, starts to get halfway through the story where Joey is going with this, that, you know, the acidic properties of urine helps, you know, the sting go away. So at first he thinks Monica did it to herself, and then he thinks Joey did, and then you learn that it was actually Chandler. Anyway, so that's the first table read that they do. And then after this table read, they all talk about how they met the very first time and when they all met each other. Some of them, it was in that very first table read when they all had been cast and they all got together and they all started rehearsing the show. That's when they all officially were in the same room for the first time together. And I can just tell you, it was really nice to see. I don't know, it was just great to hear them all talk about what it was like to see that other actor for the first time and say, wow, they really got that character dialed in, stuff like that. So check that out. That's a really great part. Now, after that, it just rolls right into the casting of the first 3 stars. So David Schwimmer was the first one cast. They had previously wanted him for a different show that didn't work out, but when they set out to make Friends and they were writing Ross, Marta Kaufman, the producer, she wrote it with Schwimmer in mind. She could just hear Schwimmer's voice in the writing, and they had to pursue him. He had given up television, so he was done with it. It wasn't his thing. You know, none of it all worked out, and they had to convince him and coerce him to come back with the script. And thank God he did, because I'm telling you, man, Ross has some of the best reactions consistently in that show. That, I mean, again, pivot.
Pivot! Pivot! Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
That is hilarious. Even the bloopers of the pivot scene are to die for. It's so good. And then after that, they picked Lisa Kudrow because they knew Lisa from Mad About You. When she played Ursula on Mad About You, they said, wow, that weird quirkiness of Ursula is exactly what we want for Phoebe, but we want a positive spin on that character. So take the weird quirks, but make her a very positive light. And that's Phoebe. And of course, Lisa just knocked it out of the park. Like, no one could do it as good as her. She was so great. And then the third, of course, was Courtney Cox. They knew Courtney and really wanted her for actually the part of Rachel Green. But when she read it, she goes, nah, that's just not me. I want to play Monica. I feel like I've got a handle on that character. And I totally agree. Monica is one of my favorite characters. I think she's the unsung, hero of all 6 of those people. She keeps them all together. She's a basket case. She's a clean freak. She's a little OCD. But God, I love her. She's just so good. And Courtney was fantastic in that role.
I know.
Courtney, right here, girl. I met her one time, by the way. That's right. She was with David Arquette, and we were at a charity event. And I was one of the waiters, passing out stuff, making sure everybody was happy and doing well. And she was one of the awesome donators for the event that evening. And may I say, man, they were both wonderful. David Arquette is like one of the nicest people. He was just so sweet the whole time. I mean, I'm first of all, I'm gaga over Courtney Cox, but it couldn't have been cooler having David be so cool. So there's my little brush with friends right there. It happened, y'all. I ain't lying. And no, I ain't got no picture. You know why? Because you got to be cool when you're at those events. You can't be all like, hey, Courtney, what up, girl? Click. No, we didn't do that. We're too cool for school, man. But she's right here. That's right. So they were the first 3. Now, moving on, we get to the last 3 that were cast, and that was Matt LeBlanc. They wanted him for Joey, of course. He was so good. Oh, and the weirdest thing is you learn that in one of the episodes where Joey thinks if he can hire an actor that looks just like him to take his place in reality, he can go do other things and people will think that's Joey. So this guy walks into Monica's apartment, goes right to the fridge and gets a drink and he's like, how are you doing? And he gets it all wrong. Like his delivery's terrible. Well, that actor was one of the people who originally auditioned for Joey. No. Thank God. No, because it's LeBlanc. Nails it. He's so good.
And that's Joey.
Hey, how you doing?
Don't you?
And then the last two was Matthew Perry and Jennifer Aniston, both of whom had contracts on different shows at the time and presumably weren't going to be able to do it. But thank God those other two shows tanked, especially Matthew Perry. He had this pilot, I think it was called LAX 2194. It just looks terrible. Thank God it looked terrible. So he got out of that pretty quick. But Aniston is the one who actually had to ask, please let me out of my contract so I can go do this show. And of course, the producers of that show says, you know what? I've seen that show. It's not going to make you a star. Who's laughing now? Chumps. That's right. Jennifer Aniston, that's who. I've not met her, but you know. I got 1 out of 6. That's not bad. And also, okay, let's move on to the next topic. So the next topic is celebrity guest stars. They start to show up now. One of them being Tom Selleck, of course. He was one of the early superstars in the show that played Monica's boyfriend, Richard. That was excellent. Dr. Richard, right? And then, like, some of the other big stars that they mentioned Sean Penn and Julia Roberts. And there's some images of Paul Rudd and a clip with him in it later on. Of course, he ended up playing Mike, which was Phoebe's husband. But they didn't have him. They didn't even kind of mention. Thank God they played the clip so you could say, oh, yeah, she married Mike. But it would have been nice to see Mike, or even a roll-in clip or something with Paul, you know, just saying something to the show. That's the only little miss that I feel that I wish was in the show. But we did get Joey's hand twin instead. Yeah, so he showed up literally to throw his hands out of a curtain to see if Joey could see which one was his hand twin. So go watch the show and I'll let you see for yourself whether or not he was able to spot that actor as the real hand twin or if somebody else had better looking Joey lookalike hands. All right, so the next topic is they talked about the dance. Oh my God, the dance between Ross and Monica. So when they were growing up, they had this killer dance routine down, pat, right? And they were on one of these rockin' New Year's Eve shows that they were just dying to get on. They've always wanted to be on the show. And then suddenly it came time for like people to like show their stuff. And they broke it down, y'all. They came out and did it is the most hilarious dance routine. It's so good, those two, Courtney and Schwimmer, when they do this dance together, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. The chemistry is just killer, man. Like, I don't know how long they worked on that dance, but it looked like a brother and sister had done this dance all their life and just owned it. And they're so proud of it too. Like, anywho. Also, next, after that, they talk about the fans of Friends. So they go all over the world and people of all different cultures and races and creeds and dialects, they all have this love for Friends and what it meant to them. Some people even learned English by watching Friends. In fact, some of the celebrities that cameoed on there was the K-pop band BTS. And one of the BTS band members was completely fluent in English. And he was saying how he had learned a lot of his English from watching Friends. So that was kind of cool. I was like, I didn't know that. But there you go. So BTS, big Friends fans. And one of the questions that the fans of Friends asked was there any part of the show that they didn't like? And it turns out, despite Marcel, the monkey, being Ross's pet, Schwimmer hated that monkey, right? It just was like, it was just a terrible idea because as actors, you're trained to hit your mark, say your lines, get that chemistry down, deliver the lines so perfectly that you nail the comedy moment, and then you're waiting for the monkey to hit his mark and do his thing. And there were so many moments where they would have these perfect takes that were ruined waiting for the monkey. So I think Schwimmer was pretty happy when Marcel got the boot, y'all. And then after they're done talking about the monkey and what they all thought about the monkey, they go to the next table read. And the next table read is the one where Ross finds out, right? This is when Ross finds out that Monica and Chandler are finally actually a couple and they're dating. And this is also when they all find out, like they're across the street from each other, right? So here's Monica's apartment and then across the way is another building. And this is where Ross finally gets his apartment so that they can see each other. And then Ross is checking out the new apartment. He's walking through it. Meanwhile, Phoebe's looking out the window and she can see Monica's apartment. She goes, oh, look, there's Monica and Chandler. And then, of course, they don't know they're watching, and then they start making out and start doing all this stuff, and Phoebe just starts to freak out. She's like, oh, my eyes, and they do this whole thing as a table read, and Lisa Kudrow kills it on this table read. It's like she was reading it like she was delivering the line right then and right there. It's fantastic. Again, as a fan, if you're watching this, watching them read the scene that you remember so well from that episode, it's really great. It makes you laugh even more. It makes you want to go watch the episodes a little bit more. So that was great. And then after this table read, we move on to the next segment, which was Lady Gaga making a special cameo appearance to sing Smelly Cat with Lisa Kudrow. So that was dope, man. Like, Phoebe is the unique one of the six, right? She's the one that's sort of the oddball, the one that kind of stands out, but they all love her and they accept her for her uniqueness and her insane goofiness, which is just, so lovable. And so Lady Gaga comes on and they sing Smell Like Cat. And she, at the end, thanks Lisa for being that character that she could relate to, right? Because she's that kind of, Lady Gaga, come on, people. She stands out. She's funky and crazy, just like Phoebe. So that was the one that spoke to her. And that's the beauty of the entire cast, is there's usually somebody in that six that you can relate to, or parts of that you can relate to, that just speaks to you. And that's, I think, what gives Friends is such a lasting quality. And after that, we get into some bloopers. And may I say, Friends is renowned for having some excellent bloopers on their show. So just do yourself a favor when you're done watching this, just hit up YouTube and just type Friends bloopers. And again, if you're a fan of the show and you see the bloopers, you will laugh even more because you remember the scenes originally, and it makes them funnier if you know what they're from. Especially Pivot. Oh my God. Anyway, go watch Pivot. It's hilarious. And then as we start to get near the end, we go back to James Corden, where we get to meet some more of the guest stars from the show, such as Maggie Wheeler, who played Janice, and James Michael Tyler, who played Gunther. So they all sort of show up at one point or another to give their love and support. It's a pretty awesome moment, especially Maggie Wheeler, because she came on the set, sat down next to him for about a minute or two, and talked about how she found her voice for Janice. The whole New Yorker, she talks really fast like this, and the laugh. Kind of nailed that just a little bit. And after they came on, then they started talking about all the other great guest stars that really made them laugh and that were memorable, such as Danny DeVito, Brad Pitt. Obviously, there's a ton more guest stars that they could have talked about, like, Charlton Heston, Gary Oldman, Bruce Willis. They didn't mention any of those. They could have gone on and on. But they picked a nice little collection of super guest stars to sprinkle into that section. But now they're starting to wrap it all up, and they do sort of a runway of some of the costumes that were used on the show. So you get Ross's armadillo. There was a lot of Ross costumes. It was like Ross when he was the armadillo, Ross when he was Spudnik, dressed as a potato. But that was near the end, and they just sort of wrap it up all nice and sweetly, and there's lots of extra cutaways to the three girls talking, the three guys talking, and Jennifer Aniston, by the way, has an impeccable memory. Apparently, she remembers exactly what Courtney Cox and Lisa Kudrow were wearing when they first met at that table read I talked about earlier. The guys, no clue. They have no clue what each other was wearing because, that's not how the brains work. But anyway, so guys, that is it. I just wanted to take you down a quick bullet point memory lane of the Friends reunion special that is on HBOMax right now. Clearly, this is just a Cliff Notes version of it. It doesn't scratch the surface in how the show makes you feel and how you laugh and how you remember. But it certainly did all that for me. And it felt great to see this, to see the actors together again, embracing these roles and these characters that basically created their career. And they are continuing to do what they do today because of the notoriety and the success and the fame that they got from Friends. And so I congratulate them. I thank HBO for giving us this type of show. And let me just say, I think this was the perfect type of show to bring these actors back. Lisa Kudrow said it best in the series. You don't want to mess up all the happy endings that the producers created for all 6 characters. All 6 characters were left in a good place, and the show ended. And then Lisa said, well, if you're going to bring us back and do another show, you're going to have to undo some of those things, because you have to have drama and you have to have a story. And she goes, I wouldn't want that. I don't want you to break up all those happy endings just so we could come back and do a TV movie that people are going to be disappointed in. Amen, Lisa Kudrow. This was the way to go. It's all about remembering the time and remembering the fun that we all had when we watched the show, and still do. The show still holds up great. And a lot of it is kudos to all these actors. It's those writers out there. To all the writers that were on Friends, you guys wrote some killer dialogue that was delivered by some excellent actors. So when you think of Friends, just remember the entire, it takes a village. The crew, the writers, the cast, the producers, it all came together for this one show. And this guy, oh my God, I'm very happy that this show exists. So do yourself a favor, go to HBOMax, subscribe just for 1 month if you have to, watch a couple of the other movies that were dropped, watch the Friends reunion. You can bail if you want to, or stick around if you like what you see. All right, guys, that is it for now. Thank you so much for watching this very special episode on the Friends reunion show on HBO Max. So until next time, I will catch you later.